Welcome, councillors, members of the public and staff. I declare the meeting open at 6:33 p.m. It's the Bayside Council City Planning Environment Committee meeting, 3rd of December 2025. Everyone at this meeting is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual, use appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws also apply to addresses in the public forum. I also ask councillors to observe the requirements under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette. I remind all present that the video recording is an official record of council and may be made available to persons upon request in accordance with the Government Information Public Access Act. No other recordings are permitted. Excuse me. Item 1 is our acknowledgement of country. Bayside Council acknowledges the Bidjigal clan, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present. Item number 2 is apologies, leave of absence. We haven't, everyone's here tonight, so there is nothing for item number 2. Item 3 is disclosures of interest. Does any councillors present wish to declare an interest in anything on the agenda tonight? I'll take that as no, thank you. Item 4 is the minutes of previous meetings. Will 2 councillors present like to move and second that? Councillor Douglas, Councillor Brederhoff. All those in favour say aye. I'll declare that carried. Thank you. There are no items by exception tonight, and we do have some public forum speakers. So we will start with that, which is the first item on the agenda, CPE 25.038, which is the proposed Brighton Les Sands and Bay Street Master Plan. The way we'll work is that we'll have our speakers first. There's 3 minutes allocated to each speaker. You'll be given a bell with 1 minute to go. Then we'll have an officer presentation, and then we'll open for debate after that. So firstly, we have Miss Natalie Fisher. Are you present? Is there a Natalie Fisher here? No? Okay. Is anyone online? No? There's a Mr. Buneski. Yes, please come forward. There's a podium up the back there. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, just yesterday got this in the mail. Don't know who's sent it out to us. There's no address, no names, no phone numbers. The information on this leaflet, majority of it's incorrect. A lot of it basically being regarding feasibility studies on development of the area. It's not the concern of the general public what a developer's going to spend, what it's going to cost them. And in terms of what the public needs a lot more housing. As we can see, there's a lot of issues with rental crisis, people living in cars, doing it rough. So I'm definitely for the development going ahead. Also part of this leaflet, the outline that's provided here doesn't identify the full location of the developments and the location that the people who put this together doesn't quite identify which streets they want to exclude, and we don't even know who these people are. Do they even live in the area?
Yeah, just to point out, we that's not a council document. We have respectfully no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, well,
but you can read whatever you. Yeah,
it's referred to the CPE 25.038.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about.
That's why I'm here.
Sure. Okay.
So I don't know. I've got no other information other than what was dropped in the mail yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to be able to read this just in time and apply to be here.
Sure.
Further to that, it's a state government issue that's approved the rezoning, and therefore council's got basically nothing they can do, really, can they? So I'm all for it. We need more people. The country's growing. Better that our council gets the funds for rates rather than people moving elsewhere. It's a beautiful location, walking distance to the beach, shops, 15-minute train ride to the city. Why wouldn't anyone want to come and live here? Thanks.
Cool. Thank you very much. Was there another speaker in the room on this matter? Because I've got something. Yes, if you just want to come forward, I'm happy to hear you. It's just not on the list. Just see if you can just state your name. That'd be appreciated.
My name's Con Kasoulis, my wife Doris Kasoulis.
Yeah. Hi. So we also received the same letter, but we only got it literally half an hour ago. And that's what's made us a little bit confused because we've had no information about any of this and all we see is, you know, we're sort of involved in this particular thing. So is there any information anywhere that we can find what the actual zoning is?
Absolutely. The agenda tonight is a public document and is available on our website. What we're talking about tonight, there's no rezoning decisions tonight. Let me just be very, very, very clear on that. We don't. That's years and years down the track.
Right.
What council is looking at tonight is endorsement from councillors to put together a master plan for that area. That's it. That's what we're looking at. It's basically, in layman's terms, and it sounds very odd, it's a plan to do a plan.
Okay.
It's very local government, isn't it? But that's what we hear. Whatever misinformation is out there, it's not council there, and unfortunately, if people are doing this anonymously, it's probably more harmful than helpful, in my view, if they can't put their names behind it. So, yeah, what we're here tonight to talk about, which is the item before us, is a plan, is endorsement for our council officers to start a feasibility study. And then if it's feasible, then we go to master plan, and that's a multi-year plan. So this is day one of that. There's no rezoning decision in front of us.
Okay.
So to object in any way, it's pretty much pointless at this stage. Is that what you're saying? Like, because we're not even at any stage.
You can object. You can object to what's before us. But what we're, just to be clear, what we're voting on is to give authority to council officers to prepare a plan.
Gotcha.
That's it. There's no planning decision here tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that will be just in terms of the timeline.
Yeah.
There'll be, if it does get voted affirmative, like in the positive tonight, if that passes what's before us tonight, council officers will start to a feasibility study. That comes back to council in May or June 2026. If it's not feasible, feasible or not, councillors will make a decision in 2026. If it proceeds from that point, then we go to an expression of interest to get a consultant to start the master plan, and it'll take a year to do that master plan, and that's going to come back mid to late 2027. And then if the master plan goes through, that's when you look at planning proposals and rezonings, and that's 2028, 2029. So, yeah.
Okay.
At every stage, there's community consultation as well.
And
so,
at those stages, you can also object.
absolutely. Any time something comes to council committee, you're welcome here. It's a public forum, and thank you for being here tonight to express your concern. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just.
So hopefully that
Yeah,
clarifies
sorry.
for you.
Yeah. Confused about this, but anyway.
Yeah,
we'll-
but got
yeah.
more of a clearer picture now.
Yeah. So after this, as I said, after we finish public speaking, you're welcome to listen to the staff report, which is their report to us, and that's the information that's publicly available that we'll be deciding upon tonight. So you're welcome to sit and view that. There won't be any Q&A, but that'll give you a better understanding to hopefully dilute any misinformation.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just make the comment
Oh,
that this is a recommendation
Of
that's
course.
going to council next week. So we're recommending something from tonight. The final decision is at council next
Yeah.
Wednesday the 10th.
Okay. So thanks for going. Was there any other speakers on this matter tonight? Yes, sir. Sorry, I haven't got the list. I apologise. You can come forward. That's fine. If you just state your name, please, sir, and then you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Peter Nicholas. I'm a resident of Brighton Sands. The reason I'm here tonight, because if I go back for years, the same master plan was again and was rejected. The excuse back then by the council was, it's the state government. We have to implement 50% of affordable living. Fair enough, even though it was proven by architect and town planner, we already exceeded 65. 4 years looking forward, I can see the whole Princess Highway, Regis Street in Cogra, every way, units. And what I'm rejecting is because Bay Street has always been a family, small community. The streets are very narrow. I live in a street which is only 28 houses, 50 cars every night, we're fighting. Now, the other thing, because I've got a personal experience, my son, he lives in Bruce Street. He wanted to install a swimming pool, was rejected. It couldn't be underground, has to be above ground. Why? The level of the water is 2 meters down. And I'm asking you, if you want to build units, where you gonna do the car park? In the water or on the street? That's what I'm asking the council. Everything else you're proposing, that beautified Brighton Sands, create more car space, I'm for it. So that's my point of view, because I went through 3 times. I used to have my business in Liverpool. Again, big developments I had to get out. Then I live in Bankstown. Again, this is my 3rd time. I bought my property back in the 90s. For me to retire in peace. And that's what I want the council to take in his consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalas. Thank you. Was there somebody else? Please just come forward. If you just state your name, that'd be great. Thank you.
Mia Kaupinen, and I live in 79 King Street, Rockdale. I have the same concerns that the people before me spoke about, and all the blocks are small blocks there, and I can't see how, I just think it would ruin the whole area, having high rise in that particular area that's on this plan. I don't know whether you know which, I mean, obviously there's been some mistake with this. Council doesn't know anything about it, or
Not council endorsed, whatever it
yeah.
is. What's
well,
council?
so
Just to be
is
clear,
the land that you're discussing tonight, is that the same land?
you'll
as
see it
on
on after the presentation, ma'am. After this,
okay.
it'll be on the screens, and you're welcome to. If you can't see, it, you're welcome to come and view that. Just so you know
agree
exactly
with all
what we're talking.
I object, and I agree with all the objections. That's really basically what I want to say too. So
Thank
that's
you.
it. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all our speakers for tonight on this issue. Is that correct? Is there anybody else who wishes to talk on that matter? No, thank you. So I'll have a council officer's presentation now, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So there will be a presentation on the screen. If you wish to see it, you're more than welcome to sit forward if you can't see it from the back. You can come up to this front. I don't mind. Just it's important that you see what we see. Should you? Yeah. Just come and sit at the tables here if you like. It's all right. Yeah. Grab a water. Have some Mentos. Just don't put your hand up. Don't put your hand up though. That's it. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barber.
No problem. Thank you. So just to track back, Council did resolve earlier this year to commence a master planning process and also to look at a complete streets project for Brighton. So we're coming back to you now with the next step in that process. So as the chair said, tonight we're essentially just putting for you a project plan. There's no decision to be made tonight in terms of changes of zoning or high-rise development or anything like that. We're really just coming to you with our roadmap of what we think we need to do to get to a conclusion. And the approach in this one is a little bit different to some other projects that we've done recently in terms of master plans, and I'll explain why. So we're looking at a project scope, the methodology, the deliverables, and the timeline and cost. The outcome ultimately would be a master plan for Brighton and for Bay Street to connect Brighton to Rockdale precinct. And then, as the chair said earlier, that might flow into changes in the LEP in terms of zoning and height limits and the like, but that's quite some way down the track. And also we will look at the complete streets program as well in Brighton as part of the exercise. This diagram shows you the study area. So it's the black edged pink coloured area. The circles there just show you the radiuses out from Rockdale and Brighton Centre and Bay Street. So it is the main focus is on Brighton, and you can see the boundaries there go from the Grand Parade, of course, in the east, and then Selwood Street to the north and down to President Avenue in the south. Then it extends along Bay Street and takes in an area to the north of Bay Street, back up to Bryant Street. So it links in with the draft Rockdale Master Plan, which will go out to the community in January next year. The boundary is similar to the previous master plans and the work that we did in 2021 for Bay Street. The areas have been extended slightly just to form sort of logical boundaries. Just leave that for a second so the speakers can take that in. So in terms of context, there have been, as one of the speakers said, there's been a number of studies done in the past for Brighton and also some earlier work in Bay Street. So that will be our starting point to go back and review the work that was done there. There's also some state government reforms that have come through in the last year or two, including the low mid-rise housing program and the transport-oriented development program, which affects Rockdale Centre. There's also a long-term transport strategy that the state government has out that foreshadows a potential metro station in Brighton. It's a long-term plan, but we will take that into account in looking at this because this plan will look a couple of decades ahead. We're looking to capitalise on major transport investments and look for new ways to connect Rockdale to Brighton in terms of public transport, potentially a dedicated bus lane to get a quick connection between the two, and looking to deliver a greater number of dwellings, some diversity, better connectivity to take advantage of what Brighton has to offer. So in terms of the methodology that we're proposing to council, the first stage we're looking to do is some development feasibility analysis. And that's essentially to get some understanding of what it would take for change to actually occur in Brighton. We could do it the other way around and look at height limits or floor space limits in there, but it may be the case that they're not enough to actually make development happen on the ground, in which case there's really no point doing a master plan. So Brighton is a little different to exercises that councils would have seen us prepare for Rockdale and Mascot recently, where we know that in those areas the existing development is lower rise, the land is less expensive to consolidate, and feasibility is reached, with heights between sort of 8 and 12 stories. Previous work in Brighton tells us that that's probably not likely to be the case in Brighton because a lot of the land is already developed for residential flat buildings, even low-scale ones, and it's much more expensive to acquire. So we're proposing to do that work first and then come back to council with the results of that to see whether council is comfortable for us to proceed to actually start preparing a master plan, if those building heights and so on are something that that council's comfortable with or not before we go to the effort of doing urban design studies and the like. The second thing we're proposing to do is to do some transport study work. We know from previous work that Brighton is constrained in terms of the road network. Public transport there is currently limited, and so we'll look and have some conversations with Transport for New South Wales about potentially some solutions to that could allow greater dwelling density in Brighton. So after we've done those two pieces of work, we'll come back to council with the results and some recommendations. If council is comfortable to continue beyond that point, we're recommending that we would go to the community for some early discussion. No plans prepared at that stage, but just to start that conversation about what the future of Brighton and Bay Street might be. And then based on the outcomes of that, we could move on to the next phase, which is actually to start doing some master planning work, looking at building envelopes and to see what the outcomes could be for Brighton that still allow good amenity, good sunlight and those kinds of things that we normally try to achieve. Once we had a master plan formed up in draft, we would then go back to the community with that, with some of the more detailed work to get some feedback on that. And then back to council again to seek endorsement for that detailed plan, which could then be, as I said before, we'd then look to rezone land or whatever was required to actually make that master plan come into effect. So as the chair said, this process will take a number of years. There's a lot of work to be done. But the approach we're recommending is phased in that way so that we don't go to the extent of spending a lot of money doing a full master plan and then having councillors in the community basically say that's not something that we're comfortable to support. So we'll take it step by step. So as I mentioned, preliminary studies, feasibility and transport would be the first thing to do. We are quite keen to look at a better connection down Bay Street. We think there's potential there for a dedicated bus or some other form that would give a rapid connection between Rockdale Station and Brighton. Early engagement, as I mentioned, so going out with that initial study work to council and then out to the community to gather some feedback at the outset to get some ideas of what the community would like Brighton and Bay Street to look like in the future, looking ahead 10 or 20 years to help shape a master plan. The approach we're proposing to take is to do the initial, some of the initial work in-house. We'd need to engage some experts to help with the feasibility studies and also some of the transport study as well. For Bay Street, we had done a lot of work back in 2021, which we're proposing to revisit, and we have the in-house skills and capacity to handle the Bay Street component in-house. If council decides to go beyond that first phase, we'd then engage external resources to help us do the full master plan work. It's quite a big area and would be quite a big project and something that we're not really resourced to do in a sort of tight time frame. So these would be the milestones. We're in front of you now to seek approval to that general approach. If council's comfortable with that, we'd go ahead and do the feasibility and transport studies. We come back in around May next year with the results of that. If council was happy, we then do some community consultation at that point as well. Then we look to go out and source a consultant to help with the master plan. Come back to council again later next year with some updates. Then prepare the final draft master plan and then seek council's endorsement to go to the community for full consultation on that. And that would be towards the middle of 2027. And then come back to council later in 2027 for endorsement of a final version of the master plan. So yeah, as I said, there's a checkpoint there just to make sure that council's comfortable for proceed after we've done that initial feasibility and transport assessment work. I think that might be it. No, final slide is just on the cost. So the initial stages are not particularly costly. And we will do some of that work in-house. You can see there the reason why we'd like to square those initial pieces of work away is because it then starts to get more expensive to do that detailed design work, which we don't want to do if the community and council aren't comfortable to go ahead with that. That's it for that one. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Maybe just if you could leave it on the milestones would be helpful.
Sorry.
Because that might come up just to. Thank you, Mr. I'll have a mover for that one. Councillor Douglas, second Councillor Brederhoff. Discussion?
I think I have a lot of concerns about this. Like when we talked about this last time, I was really assured about the complete streets focus and the placemaking focus. But in this version of the report, there's very little of that. And I can see why there's a community knee-jerk reaction around it because it reads and the presentation reads as a focus on development and densification. Whereas the intention of the original motion was very clearly around placemaking. So we love Brighton, but we struggle with traffic. We struggle with hoods. We struggle because there's not quiet places to eat, to meet. There's no town square. You know, these are the things that really were embodied in that original motion, why we're working for a community centre at the car park, renewal, and were really beautifully reflected in that first report, but seem to be completely missing from this report. So I have concerns about why do we need to have a feasibility and transport study for a complete streets program. It seems like the development side of it has completely subsumed the original intent of the first two parts of the motion. And in fact, what I would like to suggest is that we break this apart, that we just have 1 and 2 separate to point 3, and we get the opportunity of the M6 opening to focus the council on what can we do to remove vehicles from local streets. That's a one-off opportunity. It's going to be bogged down with this big master planning process if we do not separate those two things out. So that's my question through the chair to the staff.
Through you, Chair. The scope that council agreed was a very comprehensive one. So it did include looking at residential density and uplift and more housing in Brighton, as well as the focus on the main street. We could do them separately. The complete streets, I guess, hasn't been lost, but that can go ahead regardless. It doesn't rely on feasibility or even a transport assessment, really. But the other part of the scope does. So we're proposing to do those first. So the complete streets, if council goes ahead, well, I guess at that first decision-making point, if council doesn't want to go ahead with higher residential density, that could be parked, and we could just do the main street component, or the whole lot could go together in a master plan.
I think my concern through the chair is that, you know, the community could kill this off completely if there's a really big backlash against high density, and then we lose the opportunity for placemaking. And at the moment, the way that the report reads, it's got to focus on density. It's not going to talk about placemaking. And then we lose that momentum with the M6, and it's a once in a generation, once in 100 years opportunity. I mean, you said we would, why would we do this first and not focus on the placemaking and the complete streets focus, given that we know that the M6 is opening hopefully in the next couple of years?
Through you, Chair, if Brighton is going to grow substantially in terms of population, that might change the way that the main street is looked at. And so I think we need to look at them together. If there's going to be uplift, then the way that the urban environment is treated needs to be considered along with that, if there's a lot more people there. I think it's open to council, though, if there is community concern about increased density and we don't go down the road of looking at that, we can still go ahead and do the complete streets or a public domain type project down there. There's no reason why that couldn't go ahead on its own.
Sorry, can I just cut in on that? Sorry, I'm not on the committee, but just commenting on that. I think it's really important that these things be integrated. And I think it's inherent to the idea of good urban planning and the sort of master planning process that we'd look at the streetscape and how that would change with, you know, change to land uses, etc. I think potentially this is just about making sure it's brought out fully in the early work done.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Mayor. I think the thing is that what we're talking about, we're not going to really have any results until 2027, and the M6 will be potentially open in 2027. So we will miss this golden window of opportunity for the next 2 years. I think the other thing is, like, even though we've said that we're doing this differently, like, why not go to community consultation first? Why not do deliberative democracy and find out what the community actually wants in the area? Why is that the third step?
Through you, Chair, so we plan to come back to council in around May next year. So at that point, council can decide whether to proceed with looking at high density or whether just to focus on a public domain type program. So it's not too far away. I don't think we would miss the opportunity. The time frame for the M6 is not confirmed. It will be, we're told it will be at least 2028 and could be 2030. So we've still got some time to look at that. If council makes the decision in May next year not to proceed with looking at high residential density, but just to do a public domain type master plan, then I think there's still time to do that. In terms of going to the community, our preference would be to go to the community with something. At the moment, we really have nothing. We don't have any information or ideas or whatever to go to the community with, and so there's a risk that people are not really sure what we're looking for them to contribute. So we would like to go out before we've even drafted a master plan, but at least at that point we'd have some information to give them and maybe some concepts to put forward for them to comment on.
But what we are going through with this, we've got a set of principles that we've already agreed to, which is complete streets principles that are quite detailed, and those things we could take to the community. Like, I was a community member when we did the Muddy Creek master plan, and it was a matter of like putting coloured dots on things that you like and giving that kind of feedback. Like, I know that's very simple, but it's also very empowering for the community to have that option to have a say early on. I just personally think, why are we waiting till May? Like, let's get on with the complete streets focus. I just feel very uncomfortable about these two things being tied together now, given that the focus is so much on high density. Sorry, Soraya.
Yeah, Councillor Kassim.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just going back to what you said earlier about there being an implication with the uplift versus leaving it as for the public domain, for the complete streets. I'm wondering if there is a possibility in May to come back with, if you like, 2 notional options around that, because that is maybe something which may be of interest to the public. Because it could well be that when you have, as you say, uplift, you actually have more public, more public space. I mean, maybe that's interesting for people. But to come back with that at least without going through the whole master planning process, is that possible?
Through you, Chair, we could come back with, I guess, some principles or ideas of what the difference might be, because I think in Brighton, the last lot of work that was done was looking at, development, kind of double what's allowed there now in terms of height. So that would mean a lot more people, and that would impact on, parking, traffic, how public transport works, how open space works, and so on. So, whereas if that wasn't going to change, then we would look at pretty much what's there now and look how we could make the public domain better and safer. So I guess we would come back with some principles as to what the difference might be in how the Complete Streets program might roll out with one scenario or the other.
If we're talking about development and making like something that's ready before the M6 opens, and then we're talking about something else that's for future development that could take 10 years, they're 2 very different scenarios. Like, I just don't understand why we would wait to do something when there's an opportunity for something that might happen in 10 years. Like, we have had discussions about the transport-oriented developments, enabling uplift in 4 areas in Brighton, but there's been no submissions for that uplift. Like, just even if we plan it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So I really feel that there's a key opportunity here that we need to harness, and Committee for Sydney has also reinforced that with the workshop that we did recently as well.
So perhaps, Mr. Barr, I can understand the thing, because I think conceptually we need a master plan and it's going to be multi-year, but I think the concern is the fact that the Complete Streets project might get lost in the noise of such a bigger plan. So would it be possible potentially then, saying that in the February meeting, to give us like an update on the options and how that might integrate into the first update in the master plan in May? Does that make sense? So if we add that, is that something that's feasible? Gives councils a report on Complete Streets project options in February, and then that would lead then to a natural integration. Or whether we start something or not, I don't know what that looks like, but something in May that the councillors, a community consider, and then that won't impact then the timeline for that May-June initial feasibility update. Is that something that is possible?
Chair, we can do that. We can perhaps just explain how the Complete Streets type project would integrate with whatever council decides down the track. Look, I take the point that it's not highlighted in this report and presentation. I guess our assumption was that it was going to happen anyway. Just a matter of whether it happened on its own or whether it happened in conjunction with a residential redevelopment uplift type.
And I'm saying February as well, Councillor, because of the time of year that there's, we're not going to be able to get
Sorry,
done.
Councillor Bredoff wants to say something, but I just, like, maybe there could be a timeline for the Complete Streets project separate to the timeline to this high density or densification project, because I just don't want to see one anchored to the other when we've already seen today community resistance.
I think what we'll have to explain, I guess, is that if we're planning for what's there now in terms of Complete Streets, that will be different to planning for significant uplift over the next 20 years. We don't really want to do something now that's that doesn't fit with a longer term scenario, because you'd have to redo it or it may not be successful. So that's the only risk.
I think the problem is the community wants something done now, though. Like, this has come about because of years and years of community enduring unsafe streets. So we're planning for now, like, that's what I'm planning for, 2 years' time, not 20 years' time. 20 years' time is important as well, but we also have to live through the next 20 years. So.
Councillor Berhoff?
I was just going to say, agree with the focus on the residential density, and I think we also need to acknowledge the concerns that we already heard from Rockdale now with the inclusion of Bay Street, and the concerns that not came in by written, came in by have we heard today. So there is no sensitivity around actually that area that particularly was raised with us is an area with small blocks of land, family homes. Family and children have moved in there, live there, and are very happy there. They might not want councils who've accepted, and if not only accepted, also expanded the Todd area. Other councils have fought back for some of the areas, and I think for us here, that also maybe for some areas is an opportunity for us to maybe fight back on some certain boundaries that we ourselves have given us or that we have been given. But also if that is a heritage area there, which apparently we got written submission that the houses were used on our heritage program, we need to review that and then we need to make an assessment to that. I think can we somehow communicate in this recommendation that we will take an approach where everything is open, or we are open to changing boundaries in areas rather than, like, it looks, I think, very static and this is what we do and that's where the density will happen, whereas I understand that that's not happening, but that's not how we communicate it. So how can we make that sensitivity better and be open to ourselves to, empower ourselves is what I want to say.
Yeah. Through you, Chair, we're open to looking at the actual study area as part of this report. If councillors have a view on that, we can adjust that now. We've just put forward what we think is a good starting point. And certainly through that first round of community engagement, that's on the table as well. We'll be just going out with basic information and looking for feedback on all aspects of it, including the actual boundary of the study area.
Councillor Barlow.
Just a comment, you haven't actually marked Rockdale Public School in the plan, and I feel that should be there. I think I've got the Rockdale Park and it's in there somewhere, but I feel it needs to be clear because it'll be affected, and we don't want one like we've got at Cogra Public School, which is just overrun by high rise. So that was one. Also, it's Far and Gibbs Street, they're in Heritage Conservation, isn't it? Yeah, so that's the other. And we've also, I know we had this marked Bay Street in, I think, 21, we threw it out. So it's a matter of trying to work it out properly, but I'm really concerned you've marked Rockdale Park, but it's very important that you mark the school because I feel it's on a hill and it can't be built out, and you don't want what you've got at Cogra. I'm sorry, that is really very bad. So, and I presume you'll pick up some of the stuff that was thrown out in 2021 to see what people didn't like. So we'll leave it at that. But it needs to, I've noticed you've gone through and separated the left-hand side or the southern side of Bay Street, so that's not included because they're the heritage items there as well. So, okay, we'll leave it at that. But it is confusing that it's going to take a couple of years, but we'll see what happens.
So what I'd suggest, Council, I think the council officers are clear on what we need in that. There's concern that the Complete Streets project is going to sort of be wrapped up, and if it resolves that, Councillor Douglas, how about we ask for a status update in 2026, specifically February 2026, specifically in relation to the Complete Streets project, but that will not impact the timeline of the larger piece of work, which is the master plan. So maybe just if we can add a second. Oh, have you got something out there? Was that added?
The original intent of the original motion was a Brighton Le Sands Town Centre master plan, and it's now grown to a Brighton Le Sands and Bay Street master plan project plan. So it's kind of like become dwarfed by this much bigger thing.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeking to address, so we can debate that again in
Make
February.
that specific that the council staff come back with a report regarding the principal ideas and options, such as the Complete Streets projects for the Brighton Town Centre master plan, and separate these two things out.
Sorry, General Manager.
Thank you, through the chair. I just wanted to draw to councillors' attention that the resolution of the council actually included investigation into increased residential density, review of the urban design and feasibility. So what the staff have come back to you tonight with is absolutely in response to the motion as it was passed. And I know what Councillor Douglas is saying is the genesis of it was about, looking at the public domain and the town centre specifically. But when council actually made their final decision, it was much broader than that. And so that's why you have before you what the staff have brought back this evening.
Sorry, but that was on the report from the CPE, so that wasn't the original motion. That additional third point was added at the council planning and environment.
Correct, that's right.
And that's,
Wasn't
but
the original
Councillor Douglas, that's what was passed. So what,
Yeah, but not, the original motion was also passed as well, and then we had a report back on the original motion, and then this was added in. So I just don't want it to be in the community think that original motion was about densification. This has been added in.
that's on the
It's been
record, Councillor.
Frankensteined in.
okay, but Councillor Douglas, we're seeking to address that specific one with the addition of point 2 here, where council officers are going to commit to come back with an update and look at how that applies to the master plan. So they're doing both, but we're actually instead of it being bundled into one, it has been separated out.
I just don't think I feel comfortable to endorse the Brighton Le Sands Bay Street Master Plan project plan as it is. I would prefer to see the public engagement part first rather than waiting later, because I just feel like we're going to have
we're endorsing, there's no master, we're endorsing the plan.
The council endorses the Brighton Le Sands Bay Street Master Plan project plan.
Project plan.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
get
plan
that.
to get,
And I don't agree with the project plan because the
So you
community
can vote against it,
engagement is
Councillor
down
Douglas, if
to
you don't
number
wanna do
3.
it.
So I would like to change that say that the council would like the community engagement for the Brighton Le Sands Master Plan project plan to proceed
But-
first.
respectfully, Councillor Douglas, there's nothing to present to the community right now. That's what this is about, to prepare, have a plan and go to the community and say, here's the feasibility, here's the analysis, give us your comments on that point. It could die off at that point, but there's at the moment, there's nothing there.
I think we underestimate the creativity of our community.
That's not the case.
Like,
So I would like to, I think, there's a motion before us, which it sounds very local government. We're voting on a plan to do a multi-year master plan. In addition to that, council's going to report back in February, because we're not really here for December and January, on how the Complete Streets project applies within that. And there's going to be available debate and discussion at that time on that particular plan, on the Complete Streets, and that the master plan will come back to us in May or June. But that's only the feasibility, that's not the master plan itself. Councillor Kassim?
thank you. And thank you to all the work done. And I understand what the General Manager is saying about this following on from an actual decision of council, including, as I recall, a decision which specifically did talk about the importance of seeing that there is continuity between Rockdale and Brighton. And that is important, to see that continuity. So looking at both of these at the same time, I do recall that was a specific decision. I guess for the point of view of everybody understanding the complexity of this and trying to put as much on the table as possible before May, if we could add to include the Rockdale School, to include designated heritage areas, and to give an estimate of the number of additional homes which may be made available as a result of master planning, because I think that those are the variables which people are most interested in. So if we could try to get the basics of that information available before May, then that's a decision we can take as to whether to go forward with all of those variables, because I think those are all the variables which people are interested in. Thank you.
Mr. Barber,
Make a comment that
sorry,
part-
1 second, Councillor Barber, is that deliverable? Like, is that
Chair,
possible?
The feasibility work that we're proposing to do will give us an indication of what, sort of the average number of dwellings per hectare
Yeah.
or whatever will be, so we can give you an estimate when that feasibility work is done, which is our first step.
And I just don't want to have scope creep here when we start talking about heritage areas. 'Cause that's another piece of work that's very topical right now. So is that how does that apply to this? And I don't want to overcomplicate your work.
Yeah. We can just show you the existing heritage items and.
Also an overlay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow.
What it was in part 3 now, it wasn't include, it was to identify, instead of having this blank thing, you've marked Rockdale Park. So you should be able to, and that's all, it's not including because it's already included. So I just wanted to identify and also maybe, we know the 2 streets at Heritage Conservation, so it's not, identify as part of the map, not the or the plan. Yeah, it's just so that we know it's there. Because I'm looking for it and I'm thought, well, you've got Rockdale Park, so you should at least identify that it happens to be there, or any sort of fixtures like that. That was all.
Okay, so we've just got a suggestion that maybe we change it because we do want the community to be aware that we're not actually making decisions right now about rezoning. That we change the first line to the council endorses the Brighton Le Sands and Bay Street master plan. Project plan. To take master plan out.
Yeah.
Take-
Or put the word project plan before everything, endorses the project plan for the.
Hang on,
Brighton
it's Heidi's. Soraya, it's Heidi.
But would that make it clearer?
She's still going.
Councillor Douglas, it's your
Well,
floor when you're ready.
That council endorses the Brighton Le Sands and Bay Street project plan.
In relation,
Would it not make sense to
in
put
relation
project plan
to
first and put the project
future
plan
master
for
plan.
the project plan for the master planning of Brighton Le Sands and Bay Street?
Project plan for a future master plan.
Yeah. Project plan first, that's what I'm.
We're just trying to make it clear for the members of the public here that we're not, it's just a plan to do a plan, and we just want to be clear for the broader public that we're not making any rezoning decisions here tonight. It's just a plan to do a plan, and then in February, we're going to be looking at the Complete Streets project. So we're just trying to make that acceptable to everyone so it's clear for not only for our council officers, but more so for the community.
Or
That's right.
future.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I'm worried about number 3 and the number of additional homes before May, as you suggested. Can we not?
That'll come in the feasibility though, Councillor Brederhoff.
It will.
That's what a feasibility is.
I know, but is that
Can we
been?
drop that off there
It's
though?
possible.
Do we need to point to that though? Because it
I
just.
think we do, because that's why we're doing it.
But is it why we're doing it? This is the point. We're not doing this for densification. That's not the only reason that we wanted a master plan.
It's one of the benefits that will come from a master plan.
That's subjective.
Okay, Councillor, I think it's fairly clear. We have got the opportunity for further debate at the council meeting. This is a committee making recommendations to the council. So if there's any further community input, communities are welcome to make submissions to the council meeting. Also, communities welcome to speak at that meeting as well. This is a committee meeting who make recommendations to the full council. So with that in mind, councillors, I'm going to put the motion before us. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I'll declare that carried. Thank you. Thank you for the members of the public attending tonight. As I said, you're welcome to stay. This will go to full council again. And if there's any debate, you're welcome to speak or make any submissions in relation to now what is a reworded motion. Democracy in action. Thank you. Councillors, moving on to the next item, CPE 25.039, which is the proposal to expand the future park, the Meriton Burrendong Road, East Gardens, Barter 2. We can have a council officer report update on that one, please.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Lots of pictures, not many words in this one. Try and keep it simple. So the current situation is, councillors will be aware of the Meriton development in Pagewood Green. The current situation is that Meriton are required to deliver a new park on Bunurong Road. They'll be dedicating the land and also embellishing it. And the little diagram on the right-hand side there shows you the current plan. The image on the left shows Bunurong Road as it is today. you can see that there's 3 travelling lanes heading north, and then there's a parking lane against the curb, and there's a big area of asphalt in between the two. We believe that that area was used for marshalling trucks at some point in the past when the site had industrial uses on there, but it's been redundant for some time and doesn't serve any practical purpose. In that diagram, which is also in your report, you'll see next to the words Bunurong Road, there's a red sort of roughly triangular shaped shape. That's the area of land that we're talking about tonight. So the proposal is to retain 3 travelling lanes and a parking lane and realign the curb out to the east. So it's essentially straight, as you can see in the diagram that's up on the screen there. The effect of that would be to increase the area of the park by about 750 square metres. Rather than it being asphalt, it would be incorporated into the park. Transport for New South Wales have no objection in principle to that change. They have no purpose for that roadway, and they're quite happy for it to be made green instead of asphalt. We had some discussions with Meriton. They will be delivering the park that they're required to deliver, and this is just an addition to it. So it does make sense that they do the whole project while they're there. And they're open to that. They've provided a quantity surveyor estimate, which comes in at 1.32 million for all of the works. That has some contingencies in it for things that we don't think are likely to eventuate, but they've added them in just for clarity. We would expect the project to cost more in the order of $1 million. As I said, we're looking at Meriton potentially delivering that work. We'd have to go through a due process there to exempt us from going through our normal tender process, but I think there's good reason here, given that they're on the site and delivering the park next door. The expansion of the park could be funded from our new draft developer contributions plan, which will come to council early next year. There is an ability to forward fund work and then recoup it from the contributions plan in the future. And our current plans have a sufficient balance to fund this work. In any case, it wouldn't be delivered until Meriton are finished. It will be the last thing they do before they leave the site. So that's probably between 2 and 3 years away that they get up to delivering the park. So we're just coming to you tonight to see if this is something that council would like us to pursue. And we've got to go through some approvals processes and deal with Transport and Ausgrid and other authorities. And then come to some arrangement with Meriton if this is of interest to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Move Councillor Curry second. I'll second it because it's my ward. Thank you, Andrew Grady. Got the privilege of doing that. First, I just want to say whoever the council's officers who picked this up, what a win. So thank you for being proactive in the thought process and identifying this stuff. It's really hard in the moment with so much noise going on, and to identify. Like, I remember that hasn't been used since I was a kid, going to KFC as a 5-year-old across the road. Like, there's never been anything there. So to actually get the opportunity to secure garden open space, 750 square metres of open space in that area for $1 million is a win. And the fact that Meriton are on board with it is, despite their reputation, that's showing some good community spirit there as well. So I just want to say that from the outset. Councillor Curry, do you want to talk to that? Or? No. Councillor Douglas?
I had a request from a bicycle user group, which I passed on to Councillor Curry and the director, which is that proposal to expand the future park must result in a north-south separated cycleway being built on Bunurong Road. The council even has this north-south planned cycling route in its bike plan route NS-9. A separated cycleway would easily be delivered by this development. Transport for New South Wales should support relocating road space, removing the central median and narrowing of the vehicle lanes to a viable example 3.2 metres for this separated cycleway. There is ample space. It should be these large-scale land redevelopments that pay for these public facilities. The same idea applies to redevelopment of East Gardens to the south. Council cannot allow these opportunities to be missed if they are serious about traffic calming and active transport. So I just wondered what the response was through the chair from the...
Yep, through you, Chair. Council has an adopted bike plan, and that identifies Banks Avenue as our preferred north-south connection in that area. Banks Avenue is actually straighter, more direct than Bunurong Road, and it's a much quieter street, so that's our preferred north-south connection there. Bunurong Road is somewhat busier. It's also the boundary between Bayside and Randwick, so there's some complexity there in coordinating between the two councils if there has to be changes to intersections and the like. But Banks Avenue is relatively wide and relatively quiet, and so that's why the bike plan identified that as NS9.
Okay, so this community rec set is incorrect, that this is not part of the NS9 route?
No, Banks Avenue is NS9
Okay.
in the bike
I
plan.
think there'd be an opportunity for a very wide footpath, maybe that can be dual use. But I know the connection is Banks Avenue behind Westfield all the way down to Daceyville. So that's the plan, and we'll get there eventually. However, with something like this, there could be a shared pathway or something as part of the design. But that, as you say, is 2 or 3 years down the track.
If I can just add, there is a bus stop there as well. So if we can be really conscious, and it's quite a popular bus stop, and with all that, so if we can really get them as part of this to design that well into that, aligning with the parkland, and enough space for seating and standing and
Yep.
shelter.
Yeah, through your chair, the bus stop does need to be moved out to the new curb line, so it will be rebuilt and new concrete and the like. Yep.
Excellent. Okay, councillors, any further discussion? I'll put the motion before us. All those in favour say aye. Against, I'll declare that carried. Thank you. There's only 2 items there, so quick meeting tonight. Declare the meeting closed at 7:30. Thank you.
Okay, this is the City Works and Assets Committee meeting, 3rd of December 2023. Welcome councillors, members of the public and staff. I declare the meeting opened at 7:31 p.m. Everyone at this meeting is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual, use appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws apply to addresses in public forum. I ask councillors to observe the requirements under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette. I remind all present that the video recording is an official record of council and may be made available to persons upon request in accordance with the Government Information Public Access Act 2009. No other recordings are permitted. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal clan, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, and the work, and acknowledge the we meet and work, and acknowledge the Gadigal of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present. We have one apology tonight from Councillor Poulos. Are there any other apologies? No. Can we move and second and then vote on that apology, please? Councillor Strong and Councillor Kasim. In favour? Aye. There are no applications for a leave of absence, and there are no councillors on audio-visual link. Are there any disclosures of interest tonight, councillors? No? Excellent. So can I ask 2 councillors who were present at the last meeting to move and second the confirmation of the minutes? Councillor Barlow and Councillor Kasim, thank you. We are now moved to, we won't have any items by exception, and we will now move to public forum. We have 5 speakers tonight dealing with item CWA 25.057, sports feasibility study. And I have a list here. So firstly, do we have Mr. Edward Yazbek from Bexley North Football Club? Would you like to come up to the podium, sir? You have 3 minutes to speak. So the way this works, we'll have all the speakers, public speakers, and then we'll have the officers' presentation, and then we'll have questions like the other reports.
Good evening, councillors. My name's Edward Yazbek. I'm the president of Bexley North Football Club. Established in 1960, one of the largest clubs in the Bayside area, with numbers ranging between 700 to 800 players, with strong representations across both male and female, with about a third being female players. On behalf of the Bexley Club, we do not support the officer recommendation for Kingsgrove Avenue Reserve. That is the existing field, which is the existing turf, which is going to remain as is, which is uneven, unlevel, floods, a variety of different grasses, and basically we're going to have some synthetic stitched into some of the high wear areas. As the only community user group of the park, we don't think that's something that's going to meet the needs of our club. Instead, we still petition council for an all-weather synthetic playing field. To give you some stats over the last few seasons, this year we had 6 weekends of washouts, equating to 33% of the season lost for 60 teams and 3,000 players. In 2024, we had 8 weeks of washouts, weekends training lost, equating to 4,000 players and 50% of the season lost. And if I go back to 2022, some teams only played 4 to 5 weeks during the whole year. That's a 70% loss of playing time, training for our kids. A hybrid field just simply doesn't work. 95% natural turf with synthetic stitching is still going to flood. It doesn't withhold and withstand the durability of an all-weather synthetic surface. Our whole field is a high-use area. We have 60 teams, as I said, 700 to 800 players, training 4 nights a week. Hybrid requires continued maintenance. We don't believe Bayside has any experience in maintaining a hybrid, and if I look at Barton, that's become unplayable, and a club putting that sort of load on a field like Barton, we will destroy that within a month. Hybrid is functionally no different to natural turf. It's still going to flood. When it rains, the field's going to close. We're still going to have lost training. We're still going to have lost hours of play for our kids. We're aware of a couple of hybrids that a university in Sydney recently put in, as well as in Sutherland. Within 3 to 4 weeks, months, they required significant remediation works. Okay. Yeah, so for our base, I guess for our club, a hybrid just won't cut it. The only thing that's going to work for us is an all-weather synthetic, and that's proven to be successful across some of the other clubs that have it. This committee has an obligation to recommend the most suitable and appropriate solution that aligns to the needs of the club, the community, our members, and also the local school user groups. I look at other clubs such as Ador, James Graham, Arncliffe Park, who have also been identified as being in a similar flood zone, as identified as same as Kingsgrove Avenue Reserve, yet council was able to engineer an appropriate solution around those. Put simply, the proposed synthetic hybrid upgrade turf does not meet the needs of our club, and we kindly request the committee reject that motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yazbek. We will now call on Mrs. Athena Mikolau. if she's in the audience and wants to do a statement.
Oh, sorry, she's been substituted for Antonia Gregoria, and we got that in writing.
Oh, right. I don't have an Antonio Gregoria on the list, but I'm sure that she's welcome to step up. Thank you, Antonia.
Hi everybody, my name is Antonia Gregoriou. I've been playing for Bexley North for 15 years now and have been coaching a young girls team for about 3 years now. I just wanted to thank you, and I was hoping today to shed some light as to why an all-weather pitch is so important to our club from my perspective. I currently play in the all-age A's team, and we're hoping to make the jump to Premier League within the next few years. But cancelled training sessions and games due to weather conditions have made this goal so much harder. Every missed session means less time on the field to develop and refine our skills and compete at the level that we aim to compete at. It puts competition teams like ours at a real disadvantage because we simply can't train or play consistently enough to improve. It's even tougher for our non-comp teams who don't get their games rescheduled at all. They miss out completely, which is incredibly unfair and discouraging when to the girls that show up to play every week. As a coach, my job is simple. Make sure the girls have fun, learn something, and stay safe. But our current field conditions are jeopardising that. Limited space and poor surface affects every coach's ability to run a proper session. In order to preserve the field at the moment, we've got a no agility and no sprinting rule during training, both aspects that are essential to the personal development of our under-18 teams. We're struggling to keep the girls safe with the poor field conditions, as a month into the season, the girls are having to avoid potholes, patchy areas and ditches just to stay injury-free. Overall, it feels like we're trying to compete without being given a safe environment to do so. We're asking for what every player and coach needs: a safe, consistent and fair access to a field all season long, no matter the weather conditions, so our girls can play and train properly, enjoy their sport and continue to grow both on and off the field. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on tonight's meeting on behalf of all the female footballers at our club. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonia. Do we have a Mr. Theo Angelopoulos? Thank you.
Good evening, committee members and councillors. My name is Theo and I'm the Vice President of Bexley North Football Club. Concerns have often been raised about Kingsgrove Avenue being in a flood-prone area and whether stormwater issues make an all-weather field unsuitable. This morning I reviewed Council's online mapping system, which shows that Kingsgrove Avenue has the same flood risk rating as several nearby all-weather fields such as Ador, J. Graham and Arncliffe Park. The probability of flooding is less than 1%, representing the lowest level. Council successfully delivered synthetic fields in those locations despite more challenging conditions, resulting in strong outcomes for both the clubs and the community. Stormwater has also been raised as a concern. Any stormwater issues at Kingsgrove Avenue appeared to originate from the Sydney Trains runoff and the nearby retention pit. If this is problematic, Council should look to improve the flow path in the adjacent canal. The ground's proximity to the canal also means it does not face the same stormwater removal constraints seen at other sites. Flooding and stormwater issues can effectively be managed with the right sports field design. A recent example of this is Gatilia Synthetic Sports Field in Alexandria, where Council installed a synthetic surface above an overflow system to enhance drainage and reduce flood risk, which I think was a great outcome for the community. If these issues are not properly addressed now, alternate options such as hybrid turf will not resolve the underlying problems. The field will continue to suffer closures and remain unfit and for training and play. Finally, limiting hybrid turf to only high-wear areas will create an uneven, unsafe playing conditions. At Sydney University, I've seen firsthand that natural grass struggles to grow through hybrid sections, requiring the ground staff to continuously top up the playing surface to keep it playable for the remainder of the season. I ask the committee does not endorse the hybrid turf upgrade and deliver an all-weather field for our members and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Eleni Angelopoulos.
Good evening, committee members and councillors. My name is Eleni and I've been playing for Bexley North for the last 8 years and would like to share some points on why I think Kingsgrove Avenue should be an all-weather field. I've seen players at training and game day getting injured without any contact due to the uneven playing surfaces and poor condition of the field. We had a lot of cancelled training sessions over the past few years due to bad weather and found it hard to compete against teams that had access to all-weather fields to train on. These teams were able to train twice a week, where we went weeks without training, which was unfair. Halfway through the season, we had to train on the sidelines of the main field because the ground was dangerous. The lighting wasn't the best, so we had to be extra careful not to get injured. When training was cancelled, I felt frustrated because I didn't get the opportunity to catch up with my friends. As we moved into high school, a few of my close friends went to different schools, so the only time I got to catch up was at training and game day. Sometimes this meant not seeing them for 2 to 3 weeks. Also, with the ban on social media upcoming, I think it's important that we catch up with friends on a regular basis and not be restricted by the weather or how bad the field is. I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to speak at tonight's meeting and kindly ask that the committee does not endorse the recommendation for a hybrid turf upgrade. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleni. We have one more speaker listed informally who came in towards the end of the submissions. Mr. James Mavrudis. Is he James? I'm sorry if I've misspelt that. It's hard to read the handwriting.
Pretty spot on.
Okay, good.
Okay, some of you may already know me, yes, for many years. Some meeting me for the first time. I'm James Mavrudis. I'm the president of Mascot Kings Football Club that plays out of Lestrange. Firstly, thank you to Bexley North. You probably took most of my points tonight, and very similar to Bexley North. We just feel that a hybrid option and recommendation for Lestrange just won't cut it. Over the years, our park has just flooded, meaning a lot of closures, not only from the council, but from ourselves, because we feel that we have a duty of care to our playing members. You know, we have grown from the moment I took over in 2010, we were at playing numbers of 240. We are now over 700. That is a lot more juniors that we have at our park that when the park closes, we have to deliver that bad news. Now, I volunteer my time as someone that cares about kids, getting off the couches, taking them off the streets, giving them a place to feel like they belong. And that's what community spirit for me is. I don't do it for payment. My payment is seeing a smile on a kid's face, knowing that he's turning up for training, turning up for game day. We have adults that in this day and age, work stresses result in mental health. If we can give them something to turn up every week, just for an hour, 2 hours to get away from their mental health is very important. A hybrid option will benefit us no end. It won't give us any benefit to what we have now. Within 2 months, with the amount of traffic that is on that park, each week we will be reduced to lumps of synthetic and the flooding will continue. We propose an all-weather for Lestrange, whilst we also support having a natural pitch to the side which can be accommodated. That way we have a bit of both. We have an opportunity for our teams to train on both grass and an all-weather field, meaning that we could save potentially over 50% of our games that we currently lose and have lost over the many, many years. So, you know, again, I can go through the many, many stats that Bexley have come up with, but I'm sure that you kind of get the message of where we come, and we ask that you please consider that Lestrange for an all-weather surface as well. Thank you for your time.
Okay, councillors. We will have a. Oh, there's another? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, you're right. So one for the officer's recommendation, Mr. Daniel Levitt, interested citizen. Yep. He's coming. Oh no, he's here. Sorry. I thought it was via Teams. I'm a bit discombobulated.
That's
You're
all
actually
right.
here in person.
That's all right. That's okay. So, good evening, meeting chair. So I'm Daniel Levitt. I'm the Pagewood Botany Football Club Seniors Director and also a long-standing secondary educator in the area. Firstly, Pagewood Botany thoroughly appreciates Bayside Council's commitment to investing in Jellicoe Park, and we do agree to a proposed all-weather synthetic field. At the same time, we do politely feel the current design falls short of the expanding club and the local community requirements and we wish to offer some reiterations. So we have two suitable options. Option one is to actually include 2 full synthetic pitches on fields 2 and 3 and maintain the middle cricket field. This promotes Jellicoe Park as a premier facility for multiple sports. Field 1 was returfed by council over a decade ago, and by raising field 2 and 3, we'll create a level Jellicoe Park, resulting in a reduction of rainwater movement across the park, which is similar to works in Arncliffe Park in 2020. Now, for the size of the club and the potential growth, 1 synthetic field actually isn't enough. When it rains, we're often forced to turn away over 1,500 children due to field closures, and 1 field will not sustain all of the 1,500 children or 2,000 plus players that we have throughout the week. Constructing 2 full-size synthetic pitches will significantly reduce these disruptions and allow more kids to play safely regardless of weather conditions. A second option is we propose a synthetic field in field 2 at the front of the clubhouse, but increase the size to have 2 tennis-sized synthetic fields on either side, separated by nets. These additional spaces would, 1, provide more playing areas for 2,000 members, inclusive of the weather, but 2, also enhance the safety of players, particularly as players are playing on the main field and younger players play either side of this field. Now, to achieve this goal, we're willing to work in partnership with the council and Bayside Council for funding. This current project's recommendation is valued at $2 million, and we've explored the upcoming Thriving Suburbs funding for 2026 and 2027 as a potential source of additional financial support. This program presents an opportunity to ensure that Jellicoe Park meets the growing needs of our Bayside community, so we will work together on this one. Pagewood Botany is the largest sporting club in the Bayside Council area. We have close to 2,000 members and a broader community reach of 6,000 people. So it is vital that the final plan in upgrading our facilities needs to be suitable. It needs to meet the needs of 2,000 plus players, but most importantly, be future-proofed. It is actually very exciting and an opportunity for both of us to grow with this, because you know that many of our members are volunteers, we raise money for the community, but most importantly, we provide hope for the community. We hope that you take this request into consideration and would like for you to hopefully provide us with some future decision-making processes in partnership. Pagewood Botany Football Club is willing to present the council with an official report on our plan in the hope to collaboratively design the future of Jellicoe Park. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now have an officer's report about the matter, and then we'll move to council debate.
Through the chair, there is a video we want to play first.
If I could just introduce that. Some councillors will remember that we've had Martin Shepherd previously advising council on all-weather fields. Martin couldn't be with us tonight, but he is the author of the investigation, and he sent along a little pre-recorded video, a couple of minutes to have a look at.
Who's talking? No sound.
Good evening. Urging. The all-weather surfaces feasibility explored really. Good evening, and apologies for not being able to join you tonight, but here's a quick summary of the all-weather sports field feasibility study, the next generation of technology. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. The all-weather surfaces feasibility explored really three key aspects. What's the latest technology, advances and innovations? How do we embrace New South Wales Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure guide to synthetic turf for decision making? And then we looked at the initial stage of the field assessments. So we've rolled all of that up into this presentation for Council to then consider its options moving forward. There have been significant advances in the all-weather technology since Council started their investments in 2017. Surfaces are designed and constructed in a more holistic way now. Circular economy has been embraced. The new generations of surfaces have been embraced and developed in all of the different sports. And now we have the hybrid technology, once for major fields, now for local councils to use. And all of these come together to really help council create more playing hours for sports fields. The latest technology is advancing significantly at the moment, and we are at a crossroads for generational planning, design, and the way the surfaces are manufactured. We've got rid of all the rubber infills, which addresses the intentionally added microplastics. We're now moving to organics, cork, wood fibre, corn, walnuts, coconuts, etc. And the system, so that the carpets and everything else, can be recycled at the end of its life. And also a lot of the design is now using recycled product at the beginning. So that is a circular economy coming into reality. And this is allowing us to actually have a look at how we can create and design fields which are multi-use and for multi-different sports, as shown in the example on the screen. This multi-use is also being embraced by the world governing bodies for football, rugby, AFL, rugby league, etc. with new standards. And also looking at the casual usage of sports, so we call that adaptive sports. And at the moment, we've got this amazing opportunity to explore 3G and 4G evolution for long pile grass. And here we have an example of two different systems. The third generation on the top, which has moved away from the rubber and is now being replaced on this one with wood fibre and sand and a recycled shot pad. And the example on below is the new what's called a 4G or fourth generation low infill system, which still satisfies FIFA. It doesn't satisfy the rugby code, but it does satisfy FIFA for football. In addition, hybrid turf, which is really a little bit of synthetic, about 5% synthetic, now being embedded within natural turf fields. It used to only be in major stadiums, but is now available for local councils and used in highway areas around the gold mouths, and it's allowing about 20% more usage in those areas in a year, which is exceptionally good. We also made sure that the New South Wales guides on how to plan and manage and design and make sure the right surface is embedded within the feasibility study. The department has 4 stages. We've actually evolved that to make it best practice. So we're looking at 5. So we're looking at the planning, the design, the procurement and delivery and the manage. And that's where the guide finishes. But we've actually added the extra one in terms of environmental best practice, where we're looking at the end of life. This has allowed us to identify a decision-making guide specifically for council, where we had a look at the initial stage, was the fields approved by council to look at. We did an initial assessment, and then we did a detailed assessment, but also made sure, as the guide says from the department, that we actually also consider non-synthetic turf areas, and we've done that, and that's what's being presented. So when we did the assessment, we identified any major problems that could stop us using those fields with synthetics. So we looked at flooding over 50 years and 100 years and any impact that would make on the surface, which was unfortunately quite considerable. We actually also looked at contamination and impact on the local residents. But we hate just saying yes or no. So what we also looked at was alternatives to increase where the synthetics may not be the best option of how we can use hybrid turf technology in the highway areas to add another 20% of usage on the field. But what we're saying to you today, and the officers will go through this with you in more detail, is we completed the feasibility, we've provided some recommendations, and really our recommendation now is to go to design detail, and for that to do a number of site assessments like the geotech, flood modelling, survey, dial before you dig, etc. Thank you.
If the people couldn't hear that, can they catch up online on that? Well, was that in part of the recording from this evening? Yeah, the people in the public forum, if they couldn't hear that. Yeah, okay.
Can be made available through the recording, yeah.
Councillor Curry and Councillor Morrissey have moved and seconded that.
Through the
But
chair.
we wanted to, yeah, we do need a short presentation. You hoped that was it.
Just very short.
Through the chair. So further to the notice of motion last year, Smart Connection Consultancy was engaged to provide council with a feasibility study. And you've just watched the video of how the feasibility study was conducted, the latest service technologies available, and how all service types were considered for each site in the assessment. So this presentation will go through the recommendations for each site. So at Jellicoe Park, the southern end of the park is affected by some overland flooding, whilst the northern end of the field experiences only localised ponding. The feasibility assessment identified the suitability of having an all-weather option on the northern end of the site. The recommendation is for the reconfiguration of the existing fields to accommodate one all-weather playing field adjacent to the amenities building. This will involve moving field 1 further west and field 2 up further north out of the ponding areas. This will also involve modifications to existing lighting infrastructure, the removal of one junior field and the removal of the cricket pitch from its current location, with the potential to integrate a new cricket pitch in the southwestern area of the park. So Lestrange Park is located in a designated flood storage zone and it temporarily holds floodwaters during major storm events. This results in frequent flooding and high water levels, making all-weather turf impractical. The recommendation for this site is a hybrid turf upgrade, which will include reprofiling the playing area of the park to improve flood resilience and installation of a drainage solution. It is also recommended to reconfigure the fields to allow for one full-size field in a north-south orientation and a smaller training field to the south. This will result in the removal of the cricket wicket. At Kingsgrove Avenue Reserve, it is situated in a flood storage zone and it's subject to regular inundation and overland flow from adjacent roads. The installation of all-weather turf was deemed unsuitable primarily because of the high flood risk, site limitations and high costs. A natural turf upgrade with hybrid turf in highway areas and reprofiling the field to improve flood resilience is recommended for this site. This will include installation of drainage systems and irrigation systems. So the recommendation and estimated costs are summarised in this slide. If endorsed by the committee, the next steps will be going to council this month and proceeding to a detailed design for each site, which will incorporate suitable drainage solutions and further site assessments and flood modelling based on the design. That takes us to our recommendation.
Thank you. And so we've already had a mover and a seconder. Do we have any debate, councillors?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report and the video. And I just want to thank the speakers for coming tonight. You're all volunteers. You give your time to our community so that our young people and our adults can play sport, and it's most appreciated. So just want to acknowledge that. I've done a fair bit of investigation because fields are moving really quickly in how they're being designed, the different options and the quality. And there's some really good examples now out there. But I think, committee, I think it's important that we've really got to, there's some key points that I feel we've really got to consider. So one of those is our increased community demand and usage. We're a growing population. We can see that through all the development in our area. Currently, and by the numbers in the club. So currently, the all-weather fields can support approximately 40 hours of weekly use, whereas a natural or hybrid turf is more around the 25 hours. So already you've almost got a 50% reduction in usage. And when we're looking at the clubs here, particularly Lestrange and Kingsgrove, they're growing. Their numbers are doubling, almost year on year. So my concern is that it will not meet the future usage needs, and which then, that ties into the long-term cost efficiency as well. With the different turf models, they're going to need replacement. They're going to need maintenance. And we've seen some examples like Barton in other councils as well, where it's just not lasting. And we can't reduce the usage down to 20 hours because then we're not meeting the needs of our community there. So we've got to, it's a real consideration there, even though the outlay for an all-weather, you put in place an opportunity to fund it. But if you look at over 10 to 15 years, an all-weather is going to be much more cost-effective as well. And I know that, in the report it talks around, the flooding issues, but we've seen examples. We've done it in Bayside where flood resilience can be engineered. There's so much modern technology and it can be adapted to synthetic turf without excessive environmental impact. So, that's something that is technology is there now. The other one is, and we saw even from the video, the environmental advancements as well. We're moving to organic infill. We're moving to recycled materials, bio-based yarns like sugarcane fibres. It's totally at the other end of the spectrum now to what it once was, where we had, concerns. So, when we think about council sustainability goals, I mean, these are eco-friendly innovations that, align with those goals. The other point that really challenges me is equity. Equity is important, and we have currently, how many clubs? How many football clubs? I want to say 11. Anyone? So anyway, roughly, Okay, so and over the years, the majority of our football clubs in Bayside, the majority have an all-weather field. There are 3 clubs that do not have an all-weather field. Those 3 clubs are 3 of our biggest. They also are growing. They're in high-density population areas where there's predicted growth, and that is just... It is not fair when some kids belong to a club, they can train and play, and other kids who belong to another club because it is their local club, because they live there, they're getting washouts of 40%. They're not getting there and spending time with their peers, like one of our speakers spoke about tonight, that importance of that social connection. So I think... you know, we've got to have a fair distribution of high quality facilities. That is fair. And then I think my final argument here would be that hybrid upgrades are short-term fixes. We need to future-proof these parks for decades. They need to be there so that we can keep our community playing, keep our community getting out there. And we see with the current all-weather fields, we see the kids on weekends kicking a ball around. There's one at Heffron, which is across the road from our Hillsdale community. It's open to the public. There's kids on it all the time. So councillors, I really encourage you to think about, you know, all those arguments there, and you know, as we consider this. So based on that, my recommendation would be 1 is fine, that we create 1 for 2, that the committee requests a cost estimate for an all-weather field at Lestrange and Kingsgrove. And I imagine that work's been done as already. So, you know, it's important that we have the option to see that, because we can already see from the table there, hybrid options look way more expensive than the all-weather option if we're talking for 2 million up to 3 million. So then what, you know, there's got to be a little bit more there. So that would be, oh, thank you, Councillor Morrissey. So I put forward that we change, so we delete 2 and 3 and we create a new 2. And that I imagine Mr. Barber, or has that work been done already, and that could come to, those costings could come to the next council meeting. Would that be achievable?
Through the chair, we don't have the costings for the all-weather for those 2 fields that you've mentioned. Only at I think a really, really high estimate level, and given that there would be some engineering required for Lestrange and Kingsgrove, we probably need to take that away and have a look at the engineering required to manage the overland flow, the flooding. That's what we're really looking at. We had discussions with Martin anywhere between 4 to 7 million. They're too rubbery, those figures, and we really would like to do a little bit more work if we're going to seriously move down the all-weather path.
Time frame would you suggest, GM?
We'd aim to come back to you at first meeting in the new year.
I think we need to have a briefing on best practice natural turf with the modern technology drainage preparation that could go with that. I don't think we're seeing the whole picture with just considering like fully synthetic or hybrid. And I don't, with respect, I'm not sure if Councillor Curry's statements are supported by statistics. And I know you've said that to me on stuff I've said in the past back at you. Anyway, but thank you for the community for sharing this. Thank you, because I'm soccer side with my son a lot, and I'm in the inner west more. But I noticed that a lot of non-support for turning fields into synthetic. I mean, we all want high quality year-round fields, you know, but it's important to look at the full evidence in New South Wales Government's own guidelines and long-term environmental and financial impacts before committing to an all-weather hybrid synthetic surface. best practice natural turf fields now can do it when properly designed and managed. Recent New South Wales government research in the 2023-24 New South Wales synthetic turf guidelines released by the Planning, Environment and Chief Scientist found high performance natural turf with proper subsoil drainage performs as well as synthetic turf for all-round availability, including during periods of heavy rainfall. Councils across Sydney, Inner West, Canada Bay, City of Sydney, Northern Beaches, Ku-ring-gai are successfully transitioning to engineered natural turf with drainage systems that allow 30 to 35 hours of playtime each week. The technology has improved dramatically in the 5 to 10 years. Hybrid turf, sand-based engineering profiles and automated irrigation can make a difference. And natural turf can handle wet weather better than it ever has done in the past. So I really think we need to consider that option, not just limit ourselves to hybrid and synthetic. You know, that the heat levels down at I mean, I love the vibe down at Arncliffe Park, but on a hot day you can smell that field. You know, heat levels are 20 to 30 degrees hotter than on warm days. You know, so and the short lifespan and environmental costs. I mean, you say I understand there's been improvements, but I still don't think we need to industrial plastic synthetic fields when the technology is there for natural turf options. Thank you.
I also have a question for the council staff. There was a statement made about Barton Park being unplayable, which breaks my heart given that we've spent $56 million on Barton Park. I haven't seen any evidence of that myself. I live right near there and go past very often. So I just wondered if there was any information on that.
Through the chair, I think that the club at Barton Park have been very clever at managing their use of the field. Of course, any field, any natural field will wear thin in parts depending on the number of hours of use. Council actually had a staff function there last week, and you could see that there were some areas that were worn thinner than others. But the club is very, very diligent at maintaining that, at resting it, at using other fields across the area to manage the natural turf field. So it's not in bad condition, but it does take a level of management to keep it in the condition that it's in.
A couple of other questions. I mean, Councillor Curry raised fairness. I wonder about the fairness of the cricket pitches that are being removed and if we've done any consultation with the cricketing clubs, because I remember that was also an issue raised about Gardner Park, that the synthetic field meant that there was removal of the cricket pitch and that there wasn't any community consultation on what that meant for those other codes. I've also been at Pagewood where I've witnessed baseball games going on. You know, it's a site that's used for dog walkers, for lots of different activities. It's not just a soccer pitch. So I just wondered if there had been any approach to the cricket clubs who will be losing their cricket pitches in particular, and at what point community consultation would go into this.
In answer to your first part, Chair, about the cricket, we have undertaken some informal discussions with cricket. Lestrange is not highly used by the Cricket Association. It is an underspecified cricket pitch in terms of its size now. It only accommodates juniors, and so the loss of that, we've had informal feedback that it would not negatively impact the local cricket association. I think we need to do our best to see that we can retain cricket at Jellicoe. How that would look and how that could be designed, I'm not sure. But I think if we lost both, there was a sense that Eastern Suburbs cricket might find that difficult to relocate their teams. If it could be saved at Jellicoe, I think that would be a positive.
I think the other couple of points I have is my concerns are around the high cost involved. When we're now talking about engineering, we also had a report around the high maintenance costs for synthetic fields. So I would like to see a report that talks about the overall lifetime costs of this, because like it's a fortune we're spending, and I know it facilitates a lot of people, but I'm also looking at our arts project manager in the audience here and thinking about what he could do with some of that budget. If we allocated half as much money into the arts and culture in Bayside as we put towards sports, we would be making a very big demographic of people happier. So I think there is a cost issue here that needs to be really called out. And I want to know, at what point would the overall lifetime costs comparative be if we went through for 3 synthetic fields or 4 as proposed by the speakers?
Through the chair, based on the information that you received last month in that very detailed report, we could certainly bring back the cost estimates for both the capital outlay and the ongoing costs of the all-weather fields to that February meeting.
And a comparative with the hybrid and high-level natural turf fields like Barton Park?
We'll do our best to have the comparatives. I can't say that it'll be totally scientifically accurate, but we'll do our best.
I guess my other real main concern is just around the industrialisation of our green spaces. You know, we have limited green spaces in a very high density area with a lot of pressure on those green spaces. And if we suddenly turn them into plastic zones, they're no longer green spaces. They're no longer helping to deal with carbon emissions. They're no longer cooling our streets. They're no longer a space for kids to play kites on, or for soccer or picnics or all of those things that happen at these places. So that's a really big concern to me. Like, I know we need to cater to sports, but we actually live in a world where not everybody plays sports, but we live in a world where everybody breathes the air and everybody needs recreation time. So I personally cannot support the industrialisation of parks without the consideration of what other open spaces are we providing our community. We've talked a lot about how Mascot doesn't have enough green spaces, and yet here we are about to propose the industrialisation of the space. What's the offset? Is there another space that we can create for our community so that they have that access to green spaces?
Chair, I think that's a much bigger question than we're prepared for this evening. I think this is issues that council has grappled with over a number of years, trying to balance the demand for sporting fields and the demand for more passive open space and other activities. What you have before us tonight is in response to the resolution of the council to come back after doing some work and recommending a way forward, and we'll bring back as much as we can early in the new year to give you more information about that.
But we did pass a motion for an open spaces and recreations plan that would actually discuss that. So when do we foresee that being able to come back in relation, and would that be able to talk about the offsets that we might need to do in able to create more green spaces if we're industrialising some spaces?
Certainly that's the opportunity to do that. That plan won't be ready by February. That's a much larger piece of work. But that is the place to look at where you would grow open space as opposed to the open spaces that you're intensifying use of.
And when would we expect that roughly?
Tom Frank? Can I come back to you with that?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think, is there any other
comment? Well, I only speak about the one in Kingsgrove. I did speak to one of the speakers today. The concern is the cost, but I think with Kingsgrove, it's the flooding issues of the downstream of all the houses, the adjoining properties. I was there for the opening. It's the best building I think we've ever seen. It is amazing. It's the best builders. It is so good. And it was raised because of the flood level. And I thought that they were getting funding from the local member, but I want to chase that up because I'm sure that's what they said or someone said. So I don't know what the cost will be, and I think until you make that decision, whether we've got it we mightn't even have it in the budget. So it might be another season before that, but we only have, there's a lot of soccer fields, football fields, soccer fields, especially in Scarborough Park. They're all, none of them, they're all grass. So there's many around, I think, and some of them we haven't even paid for. Ador Avenue and McCarthy were paid for separately. So I'm happy to support it for now, to look at the further options, but it's the fact that we've got to look at it, you know, holistically. We also have to look at the flooding downstream of all the properties. It's not just we want a field. So that's the difference. And I know you've already built the canteen and everything's up above the flood level, and you've done a lot of drainage there for that one. So anyway, I'll support it at the moment.
I think it'd be worth if we listen to the Chief, New South Wales Government Chief Scientist Engineer report. Natural turf managed well can meet demands while cooling our suburbs, supporting biodiversity and avoiding long-term waste legacy. Evidence says we should tread cautiously until New South Wales solves the unanswered questions of runoff, heat, end-of-life disposal. The safest decision is that we go for best practice natural turf, not industrial plastic fields. Thank you.
There is, well, we're going to go to Jerome, but if you have got an amendment that you want to put up, maybe that's, you should consider that. But Jerome, so you have a think, yeah.
So.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, I think Councillor Curry's suggestion there is a very sensible one. I know we're talking about costs a lot, but this is bread and butter stuff for council. If we can't deliver this, you know, what can we deliver? We're talking about lots of clubs, hundreds of families wanting to play sport. And as Councillor Curry talks about, Heffron Park, I was just there this evening. You've got 200-300 kids playing around there. And I understand the point about multiple sports, and hopefully we can have multiple sports on these fields. But I think this is a really sensible way forward. It's a pathway to look at synthetics on both of those parks. And I would, yeah, obviously urge you guys to support that. So, and I'm sure the clubs would be very happy if you did. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boulay. Councillor Kassim.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to go to Councillor Barlow on the question of flooding, because that was of concern to me, obviously, all the residents who might have flooded land as well. I presume that will be covered in those engineering cost estimates. That is covered off, I think, Councillor Barlow. That's what the cost estimates are, to ensure that there is no flooding of residents. That's the first thing.
Yes, through the chair, a solution would have to be found that excludes the possibility of us making any flooding worse off on other parts, on other lands other than our own. So you must retain the floodwaters. You can't make it worse downstream. So any engineering solution takes that into account.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Then the second thing was just going to what Councillor Douglas was saying. And maybe Councillor Strong, in terms of the information on synthetic and hybrid fields, because there is a lot of information. I mean, we know how much community opposition there is to it, how much controversy there's been around it. But I was hugely relieved to read some of what was in that report and what was presented there in terms of the development, the scientific developments in, you know, and the environmental improvements. But I'm not sure that, or well, I doubt actually that that information is available to the public. Like I suspect that most people don't know that, and I think it might be wise for us to actually make this information available. I like the idea of making this information more widely available, you know, and then maybe seeking some sort of community feedback on the question of would they rather have fields for everybody or green space. You know, like that is a legitimate question, but with the information, with the new information available, because I think a lot of people were very opposed to that, but, you know, and would want to test these what's been said here, but certainly on the face of it, it looks a lot more positive to me than what we've had in the past.
Was there any amendment or anything that you were
Let's
well, you've called
jam that out.
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
Sorry.
Councillor
Just for the amendment, we can all help with this, but I could suggest one. Is it a foreshadow?
You have to
foreshadow it and then potentially the mover might accept it, but you can't just work on it now like this. You
Right.
have to foreshadow an amendment.
Okay, I'd like to foreshadow an amendment, please, through the chair.
What is it?
Okay, that council, okay, here it is. That council receive a briefing from relevant staff and turf management experts on best practice natural turf management, including capacity uplift strategies, soil and drainage improvements, maintenance models, and comparative life cycle cost and environmental outcomes prior to any future decisions regarding synthetic field installation or conversion.
Do you have that in writing?
Did you send?
I can email
Email
it.
it through.
Yeah,
I think
to
email
govern.
it
No, I
through.
haven't. No. Okay, I'll email it now.
Councillor Strong, just
Mm-hmm.
on that, so you would like some information because our code of conduct does not allow us to have briefings. So you would like
Okay,
an information workshop. So
considered in this.
well,
matter.
that could just go alongside that because the council are going to do the work anyway in relation to looking at the lifetime cost estimates with the weather fields, and the research has been done by the consultant. So potentially that could then be unpacked for interested councillors because the video was a little bit hard to hear. I'm happy to allow that to go to the motion if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, that,
I know. I'm
That's what
asking.
we need
Yeah.
to understand.
So you're happy if we just add that to the original?
about receiving information
Yeah,
on natural.
a workshop.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
All right, well, let's-
Do I still need to email it?
Let's just do that. We'll.
So it's just adding a number 4, which is a councillor workshop regarding best practice.
Natural
Yeah.
turf.
And if I might, and that information on the upgraded, improved capacity of synthetic turfs be made available on council's website.
Well, I mean, it is because it's in the council papers. which
Yeah,
are
but I'm
published
not,
on
I think it's a
council's
bit
website.
buried. But anyway,
Let's just stick on this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, are you happy with that then? All
Yeah,
right.
I'm going to put this through anyway.
Are you specifying natural turf management or the various types of turf management in this point 4?
Considering natural turf in the matrix of the other one of considering natural turf options when making any decision.
No, that's different. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Councillor Strong,
Okay.
that's different to what you originally said. I'm happy for a workshop where you can understand the different options about the new, yeah.
Right.
So if the committee.
On all turf?
On
all
all.
turf options and
on-
management?
On all turf,
Surface of it.
all surface options
And management.
and management, yep.
Okay.
Take out the brief.
I think it is.
Hi, I just had a question.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Hang on, just
Yep.
take out briefing. It's not a briefing, information session, please.
Councillor Dusko has been very patient.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And thanks for everyone for making their time to go and represent their respective football clubs. I just had a question around the really hard to hear consulting video. Do we know if any of the clubs were consulted during this putting together this consultation video?
Through the chair, this was actually a piece of technical work that council resolved that we bring forward. This is not actually putting for, it would require further community consultation, but it is the first stage in a purely technical assessment as to which of the options would be appropriate given the environmental considerations on those sites. Once council makes a decision as to, and it's calling for more information tonight, but once council makes the decision as to which option it chooses for the specific sites, then substantial work will be required in the design, the planning for, and the consultation about those fields.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I just want to agree with Councillor Curry and Councillor Boudeleil. I think the points that they made really resonate, and also the lady that spoke. Soccer is one of the fastest growing, or football, whatever you want to call it, is one of the fastest growing sports. And I'm a strong advocate for also women in soccer. So I think this is something that we really need to consider the human aspect, and also the fact that we can actually assist with a lot of issues, mental health issues, and obesity issues, and just social issues by allowing these fields to be accessed as soon as possible. And my other question is, in terms of hybrid, what is the percentage of the field being hybrid versus one aspect to the other, being versus synthetic versus natural? When you say hybrid, most people would assume 50-50. Is this the case?
Through the chair, no, the recommendation was actually 95-5. It was 95 natural, 5 synthetic. And we did ask the question, and I haven't received the response yet as to whether other blends and mixtures are actually available.
Okay, thank you. Given that, then it's not labeling it as hybrid is a bit of a misnomer if it's 95 natural and 5% synthetic. So I guess that's something we need to really consider moving forward. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Thank you. And that naming came from an external report. So it might be feedback that we can find out best practice about in our free time, if we have any. So let's move that to a vote. Councillors, all those in favour? Aye. Against? Okay, I declare that carried. Thank you everyone for sitting through the long debate, and we will move on now to CWA 25.055 King Street Mall Play Space Renewal Project Update and Community Engagement Outcomes. Do we have a short presentation on this matter? Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll just share my screen. So the existing play space located at King Street Mall has been identified for renewal due to its aged condition and limited play value. The renewal of the play space is included in this year's CPP. The project is currently being funded by the local small commitments allocation grant and the infrastructure levy reserve. So 2 concept designs were prepared offering a variety of play options for a range of ages. These options were presented to the community seeking feedback on their preferred design. There were over 790 contributions, with 93% of respondents who used the play space indicated having children between 2 to 6 years old. 59% of the responses voted for option 1, while 37% voted for option 2. So the key features for the preferred option 1 are shown on this slide. The inclusions preferred include the wide slide and lower level structures. The community's comments focus primarily on shade inclusions, requests for additional play equipment such as swings, trampolines, and interactive features. So in response, a design does retain and upgrade the shade structure. It incorporates sensory play features and enhances amenities with pram access and seating options included. However, swings and trampolines were not included as they require large four-zone clearances that cannot be accommodated within the limited playground footprint without significantly reducing the overall play value. So the next steps include the report going to council this month, and then going out to tender in the new year and reporting the recommendations in March, with an anticipated start date by April and completion in winter next year. The recommendation is to receive and note the report.
Okay. Do we have a councillor voting for? Superior councillors. Yes, please. I know we need to move the motion. Councillor Kassim, Councillor Morrissey, any debate? No? Lovely. Very nice. Be great to have that upgraded. It's a great spot, especially with the new stage facility down there in the mall and the lights and the mural, Patrick, which is fabulous. Thank you. All right, all those in favour say aye. I declare that, nay, declare that carried. And we'll move on to CWA 25.056 Gardner Park Banksia Place Space Renewal, outcomes of community engagement.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm just sharing my screen. The Gardner Park Banksia is located on the corner of Walleye Creek Road and Gardner Avenue. The fully fenced neighbourhood play space has been identified for renewal and is included in this year's CPP. So the objectives of the renewal was to improve the play value and inclusivity, improve access to the equipment and seating, and provide shade over the main play area. So in September this year, the concept design was presented to the community seeking feedback. There were 34 contributions, with the majority of the play space users indicated having children between 2 and 6 years old. 13 supported the upgrade, whilst 24 supported but with changes. There were no responses that were unsupportive of the proposal. So the design will include a new entry from Walleye Creek Road and play equipment for children aged 2 to 12. Key features include a swing set, a multi-age unit with climbing features and a slide, a small child's cubby. There'll be nature play areas, balance and agility play, seating options, and soft fall surfacing for accessibility and maintenance, and a shade sail over the main play area. The circuit path will also be widened for scooters and bikes, and all existing trees will be retained and additional planting proposed. So a lot of the feedback was reviewed, and the design of the responses that supported the proposal with changes, 6 responses had concerns over the use of rubber surfacing. The proposal limits the use of rubber softfall, with the softfall area being 25% less than the current play space. The current total area contains 106 square metres of softfall surfacing, and the proposal provides 80 square metres. It should be noted that the softfall does not contain any loose granular rubber material. It is to provide accessibility to some key play components to promote inclusivity and reduce maintenance under highway activity zones, such as under the swings and the slide exit. So if endorsed at committee today, the next step is for the report to go to council meeting this month, finalise the design and go out to tender in the new year, and reporting to procurement outcomes in May, with a project to commence in June and completed in spring next year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a councillor move and second that? Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Curry. Any debate, councillors? No? Okay, all those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. We now have a confidential item, which means we need to go into closed session, unless we hold that over to the end of the next committee. You're okay to go outside? Okay, thank you. All right. As we have one confidential report before us, councillors, we'd like to move into closed session.
Move that one.
Move, thank you, to the Guthrie report. Thank you, Councillor Curry. And the closed section, in accordance with Section 10A(4) of the Local Government Act and Council's Code of Meeting Practice, I invite members of the public to make representations as to whether or not this part of the meeting should be closed to the public to consider confidential items. There being no representations, I move that council closes the meeting to the public for the reasons outlined in their report. Is there a second?
I would just suggest.
What, we don't need to have?
There's no debate.
There's no
you don't
debate?
have to move that way.
Oh,
So
okay.
Is there any councillors who've got nobody asked that?
Okay, good question. Are there any councillors who have any things they want to debate in the confidential item? If not, then we can just move and second the motion. Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Curry, okay. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. We could bring the public back in, okay? And that closes that meeting at 8:43.
Yep. Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the City Services Committee meeting. I declare it open at 8:46 tonight. Welcome to public and staff. Everyone in the meeting is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keeping communication factual, using appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws apply to addresses in public forum. Don't think where we do. I also ask councillors to observe the requirements under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette. I remind all present that the video recording is an official record of council and may be made available to persons upon request in accordance with the Government Information Public Access Act 2009. No other recordings are permitted. I would like to acknowledge the original plan, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present. We have apologies from Councillor Poulos and Councillor Awada. Is that all? Yep. And I think we have online the Mayor. Yes, so can I have that accepted? A move and a second moved, Councillor Curry and Morrissey. And we have online, sorry, the Mayor, is there anyone else? The Mayor, is it? Yeah, so the Mayor's online. So I think we'll move that. Yeah, do we have to move that? Yes, Councillor Brederhoff and Councillor Morrissey. Thank you very much. In favour, all against, declare it carried. Does any councillor wish to make any disclosures of interest tonight? None? Fantastic. Can I ask two councillors from the last meeting who were present, Councillor Brederhoff and seconded Councillor Curry. Yep, declare that carried. Okay, so now we can get on to, I don't think we have anyone in public forum. No one online. Thank you. So we will go to the, and no, I think by exception, so we'll go to the first report, the response to the notion of investigating expansion of children's services. Do I have someone moving and seconding? Councillor Brederhoff and Councillor Strong, and the councillor's report, please.
Through you, Chair. This is a response to the notice of motion expanding council childcare services. This motion was tabled at the September 2025 council meeting by Councillor Strong, requesting further details on the potential to expand council's children's services offerings. The details are in the report, but in short, council owns 7 assets with potential for early learning centres, all of which currently operate as childcare centres run by non-profit or government entities. Council would need an exceptional reason to terminate the leases of these operators in order to take over the running of these centres, and this is not recommended in the interest of providing operational certainty for both the providers and the enrolled families. A needs analysis has been referred to City Futures for consideration through future developer contribution plans, as this is a larger body of work and requires time to complete. Lastly, Council is not able to ascertain the costs of running private childcare centres, but understands IPART is currently investigating this and will present its report to the Minister this month. A copy of this report will be provided to Council when available. So our recommendation is that Council note the response to the motion.
Thank you very much, Ms Dawson. Do I have any questions? Yes, Councillor Strong.
Yeah. Now this, I thank the staff for that report. This, through the chair, this report is a useful starting point, but it doesn't yet give councillors in our community the clear picture we need. We know that the 0 to 5 population in Bayside is growing fast. The families are already feeling the pressure, long waiting lists, high fees, difficulty finding places close to home. Council-run centres consistently deliver strong, quality, stable staffing and fair fees, so it's essential we understand our full capacity, where the council-run centres are, where we lease out our centres, and what's the difference in fees, staffing and service quality. Expanding council-run early learning shouldn't be dismissed as too difficult. Other councils do this through repurposed buildings, end-of-lease transitions and negotiating space in major developments, especially state significant ones. Tonight, I'm just asking for a clearer detail, proper feasibility work and a pathway for growth so Bayside can meet future demand with high quality, publicly run early childhood education. I've emailed some amendment just for another study to be brought for March 26. I emailed to government, it's just there. If you want to have a look. Oh.
It's a response to an
Okay, well, all right, then.
Okay.
Well, I emailed a response from me. Okay.
But
That's
Yeah.
a
So
response.
isn't-
It's
yeah.
not a-
So, yeah,
it's not a
it's a
Okay.
response to,
Thank you.
You can bring a new motion if you want.
okay, all right, yeah.
Any other comments? No? In that case, all in favour? All against? Application of new development. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Strong,
Second.
Councillor Redhoff, and council report, officers report. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. This is a notice of motion by Councillor Strong that was brought to the June Council meeting requesting a workshop to explore policy pathway for requiring electrification and degasification in Bayside's planning framework. On the 16th of October, a workshop was held for councillors with presentations from 350 Australia, Doctors for the Environment Australia and Ausgrid, which painted a grim prognosis for continued use of gas appliances, particularly in residential developments. As background, 8 councils in New South Wales have amended their development control plans to mandate all electric new residential developments based on sustainability or indoor air quality. City of Sydney initiated public consultation on the future of gas in new developments in May 25 before amending its DCP in October this year. Recommended future actions are to conduct community consultation in early 2026 on electrification and degasification in new residential developments to seek the views of our community, and a report on planning mechanisms to implement these changes will be prepared if supported by the community. So the recommendation tonight is that council commence the community consultation and receive a report on the planning mechanisms available should this proposal be supported by the community.
Thank you very much, Ms Dawson. Any questions from councillors?
I'd like to thank the staff again for this report and also for organising the October workshop. It was a very compelling evening and the evidence was there about health and affordability without even mentioning climate issues, that it's the way to go. I note that we can't actually force it through the DCP, but the fact that this is proceeding and going out for consultation, I fully support, and I hope that we can move forward with this for the good of all. Thanks.
Thank you. No other comments? All in favour?
I'll make a quick comment that I actually really got a lot out of that workshop as well. So thanks staff for organising it. And in fact, I was contacted by somebody around this issue, and I mentioned the great workshop we had, and that Parramatta Council have since done it, doing a similar thing. So, you know, it's really great to learn those things and to be able to then meet those people at the Project Planet, you know, the next day and continue those discussions. So I don't have a vote on this in this committee, but I very strongly support the recommendations.
Thank you. All in favour? All against? Carried. Thank you very much. And we finally get to the very patient people who have waited all evening. The Museum of Contemporary Art, C3 West proposal. We've got pretty pictures even. So, sorry, someone to move. Oh, second again, that's fine. Councillor Strong, Redhoff and Strong. council report, officer's report. Thank you.
Through the chair, Dennis Golding on the Foreshore is a temporary public artwork partnership with the Museum of Contemporary Art and Bayside Council for the C3 West program. The project brings together Kamilaroi artist Dennis Golding and young people from the Bayside area for a public artwork project focused on land and waterways. Dennis Golding on the Foreshore will culminate in a major new public artwork by Golding, set to be unveiled in Bayside in April of 2026. Tonight we have with us Senior Curator of C3 West at the Museum of Contemporary Art, Pedro D. Almeida, who Bayside are working with on this project. Him and I can answer questions you may have tonight. This project responds to the cultural and historical significance of Kamei Botany Bay and also provides local youth from diverse cultural and social backgrounds opportunities to learn more about country, as well as pathways into the creative industries through artist-led experiences. MCA Australia is proposing to produce and present Dennis Golding's visual artworks by temporarily installing a stack of 4 shipping containers on the concrete ground of Ramsgate Car Park to create a large-scale structure on which to present the artworks. The shipping containers will be used for structure and weighing down of the digital graphic, and the surface of the shipping container will not be visible. Scrim prints will be attached around the outside of the containers via specialty framing devices designed for this purpose. These will be hired and installed by Doppler, which is the company's name, an events and technical and creative contractor that MCA has worked with previously for their C3 West temporary public art presentations. There we go, sorry. So this is the proposed site. After a series of site visits, a location has been found in Ramsgate with minimal impact to residents' views of the bay, on a safe public location with placement on hard ground and close to public amenities for visitors. A walk on country has been conducted at this site with local elder Auntie Barb Sims, who supports this site for a temporary placemaking initiative. So the benefits of this proposed site are that Bayside Council manages this land, provides concrete ground on which to stage shipping containers to stack, without causing damage to grassland. Vehicle entry to site and wide car park dimensions allows for large truck which is required to deliver place shipping containers. Highly visible site in the central area of Kamei Botany Bay's foreshore with the popular Lady Robinson's Beach, so near Monterey, and Ramsgate Beach adjacent on either side. The site is passed by hundreds, possibly thousands of community members daily, walkers, joggers, sightseers and families, etc. The site is located on a piece of foreshore where there is ample distance between the foreshore and the residences opposite, where a small parklet adds to extra distance and minimising obstruction for the residents. This is a mock-up image and is an indicative image, not the artwork. The artwork is still in production. The site is literally on the foreshore, which perfectly aligns with Dennis Golding's conceptual and cultural focus of his planned artworks that will speak to traditional Aboriginal significance of country and contemporary multicultural responses and resonances informed by engagement with young people. This location has clear sight lines of the headlands, which was a request by the artist. Good public transport accessibility, bus stops opposite on the other side of Grand Parade, good parking availability in the area. It is itself a car park. Public toilets located on site as well. These are useful for community members who attend the opening celebration and public programs that will be associated with the temporary activation. And here is the recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, and really happy to see this. I think it's an excellent project. I guess my question is about the public program. There's been a lot of work done jointly with young people, which is fantastic. That's great. So that's part of the process of doing it. But I do think this is a really good opportunity to do some sort of reasonably serious work with our residents, around understanding Aboriginal concepts of place and history, and it's just an opportunity to engage more of the community. So, what's the plan? I can see it's 10 weeks. What's the public program in that time?
Through the chair. So we'll be working with the artist to come up with an extended program of activations of sorts, which would include programs such as Walk on Country, a yarning circle with the local First Nations community, and also programs that are linked with the high schools that we've worked with. There have been 2 in-school incursions with the artist at both Cogra High and JJ Carl, and those workshops have informed the artwork as well. So we'll be looking to work with those schools again. One of the big parts of this project is to create creative pathways after kids finish school, and so into the creative industry. So there'll be a mix. There'll be a mix of working with our First Nations community and the artist, as well as local young people. But it's not concrete and hasn't been set in place yet.
Okay, great. I mean, I just would recommend doing things which are also, like as I said, it's fantastic you're doing things with young people, but which are done at times when workers and, ordinary residents, etc., will be able to enjoy it. I presume also you take into consideration placement in terms of security, including night security. All of that's taken into account. We don't want anything untoward to happen with this. So, yeah.
Through the chair, that's a consideration, I think, in terms of public artwork. We can't control what happens all the time, but we would hope that there'd be the materials that would be used, as well as the artwork itself, would be rigid enough so that it would be able to withstand something, but you never know.
Okay. Sorry, Councillor Brederhoff.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I love this. This is really great, and it brings, as was mentioned, hopefully a lot of visitors to Bay. And maybe I was thinking, when there wasn't any funding for Sculptures by the Sea up further, that we could do Sculptures by the Bay, and maybe this is the first of that. So yeah, thank you so much for pulling this together. It's really great. I'm excited about that.
No other comments? Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so all in favour? Against, carried, and thank you very much. We've got to the end of the meeting. I declare the meeting closed at 9:03 p.m.